is the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast, brought to you by Cisco. Cisco is here to help set you up for success by delivering high-quality foods, products, and services for your restaurant. Recording live to digital from the NC F&B studios in downtown Raleigh. Join us as we lead you into the kitchen, inside the bottle, and into the minds of the food and beverage industry. And now, waiting for you to stop so they can start talking, it's Max Trujillo and Matthew Weiss.
Hello, and thank you for listening to the North Carolina Food and Beverage Podcast. I am your co-host, Max Trujillo.
And I am your co-host, Matthew Weiss. And today we are going inside the mind of the chef of one of the staples of Durham, North Carolina, maybe all of North Carolina. This restaurant, Cafe Parizade, has had an unbelievable run and truly is one of the tenets of the Durham food scene. And here to tell us about all of it is Chef Jason Lawless.
Hello, guys. Good to be here.
Hey, welcome to the studio.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. I had your camera cropped in a little bit just on your mug, and then I realized, let's give a little love to UNC because you got your hat on your knee.
Oh yeah,
proudly displaying. We pretend like we're like huge North Carolina fans and all that, but like we're from North Carolina, like as a show. But
Go Drake May.
yes,
hey,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, just because you started there, sorry, Shannon Healy, but one of the things that Chef Jason and I have in common, even though he's not from New York, he is a Giants fan.
Oh God.
Giants and Yankees.
Yep. So we won't get too much into it, but you are on record. What is the Giants' record this season?
If we go five, well, I guess you can't go 500 anymore now.
Nope.
17 games, so 9-7.
Still not right. No,
9-8. 9-8. There we go.
Okay, you heard it here. 9-8. So we will check back with you.
Wild
at the end
card
of the
spot
season.
again.
I think
All right.
last year.
I think I'd sign up for that. Like 2 years
I would take
in the
it.
wild card.
I would take it.
Well, no, didn't we? We were very cautiously optimistic about the Giants last year when we said this. I want to say everyone said like 5 or 6 wins, and then didn't you guys do that like in the first 7 weeks?
Yeah,
there were 5-1, I think. Wasn't
6-1.
6-1. Yeah.
Yeah. So all right, maybe that'll be good for you all.
We'll take it.
And
And Daniel Jones, Durham.
That's right.
oh, that's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, he's a Duke boy.
Yep.
I'm all my Panthers fans will be mad when I say go Saints this year. I'm a Raider fan, but I'm also a Derek Carr fan. So, you'll see me at the Saints Carolina game when they come out into Charlotte when they play out here. So,
Oh, is that right? You're
Maybe
going
we
to
should
You're
all-
going to make an appearance?
I'll make an appearance. Well,
Okay.
Derek and I go back, so I'll probably be in the box. Not
Yeah.
big deal.
He's probably
but-
going to call
yeah.
you. Maybe even on the sidelines. Who
Yeah,
knows?
and if I don't get the tickets from him, Gruden will get it and get them to me because he's their quarterback coach now. So it's all good.
So weird.
We're good.
But anyway,
Let's
we
get
digress.
let's talk some food over here. So, for one, how long you been over there? How long you been chefing it up at Parizade?
About 7.5 years now.
Yeah.
Gosh,
Yeah, it's been a while.
that is crazy.
And I did short you because you're not only the chef of Parizade, but the somewhat newly opened Krill in
Krill.
Durham.
Yeah, we just had our 1-year anniversary a couple weeks ago. Fun, funky little Asian spot that downtown Durham, right by the ballpark. Super fun, casual. Come in a pair of shorts anytime. But yeah, we're loving it over there.
Is that the first restaurant you've opened since you've been at Parizade?
It
at
is.
The helm?
It is.
Yeah.
and it's
It is that fucking special.
sorry, Anthony didn't say anything last episode, so I just made sure that he got his due on this one. I just walked by Krill the other day. I think I was.
What were you doing in Durham?
When I say the other day, it was probably 4 months ago, but.
Ponysaurus, probably.
No, although I do like myself some Ponysaurus. I was doing something at the. I went to the fruit, or what is it called?
Yeah, the fruit.
The fruit. Yeah. It's where Matt and I did a little event back in the day with our friend Jacob Boehm over at Snap Pea.
Yeah.
I was there for a Snap Pea dinner. It was a few months ago, but I remember walking by and it was like your opening weekend. So
Yeah, that would have been a year ago. Just the other day.
Yeah.
it was the other day, a year ago. Yeah, that's how it works. But there's no time. It's time space
Timeless,
continuum.
yeah.
Yeah. Time is a construct created by man. It doesn't matter. It's fine. But the place is beautiful. That's the
Thank
one
you.
thing. So obviously connected inside of Giorgio's restaurant
Yeah,
group.
it is a Giorgio group restaurant. I mean, I wouldn't consider it a typical Giorgio restaurant, but what is a typical Giorgio restaurant these days? He's opening up so many concepts. It's what it's
That dude is crazy.
But I think it's its own. It's got its own vibe, and that's one thing that I think with the Giorgio Hospitality Group we do. It's each restaurant's got its own individualness to it, and Krill's just fun.
Yeah.
You walk in, especially when, like towards the end of the night when the sun goes down, it feels like there's like red lights. It feels like you're like you've been transported to a small little Asian street restaurant. It's like you don't feel like you're in Durham anymore.
Right.
Music's loud, New York City kind of feel to it.
Well, so that's a really good description of Krill. What's the? I mean, I know Parizade is kind of Mediterranean-ish, but what's like the feel there? It's a huge restaurant, first of all.
Parizade is we with the patios and the private rooms, we can do up to 600-700 covers on a busy night.
Yeah, that's a huge restaurant.
It's big.
Whoa,
Yep.
that's crazy.
Yeah, it's big.
Yeah, that reminds me. Every time that Scott James, after he left Midtown Grill and he went to Angus Barn, we'd compare notes, and I'd be like, "Man, we were busy today at Midtown. We did like 250 covers." He's like, "Yeah, we did 2,500." It was whatever my number was. His number was the same with a 0 on the end.
Yeah, we're not quite as big as Angus Barn, but we definitely we push it out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess let's just get into it. What do you think has been why is this restaurant, out of all of the others that have opened and closed and, gone under, switched, pivoted, has this one had this staying power?
I mean, it's evolved over the years. I mean, I've only known Parizade for 7 years. We had our 33rd anniversary last year.
33 years.
So 34 this year coming up. So I can only speak for the 7 years I've been there. But what people have told me and what I've heard, it's evolved over time. It was kind of like more of like an eatery when it first opened. Wasn't not like a buffet line, but you could pizzas and sandwiches and desserts, things like that. They had like walk stations, and it was kind of like Giorgio's Garage. If you guys remember Giorgio's Garage days.
I don't, but
Yeah,
it was like,
but I can picture it.
Giorgio's Garage was like before its time. If you did Giorgio's Garage now, it's a food hall.
Yeah.
He would crush it.
Yeah.
It was before its time. It was European idea. So Parizade's been good about adjusting and pivoting. When I started, it was kind of a little tired, needed a little boost, and so Giorgio and Igor and Jay gave me the opportunity just to do whatever I wanted, and there was some fighting back and forth with some people, and there was some firings, and it wasn't an easy first year, but we pivoted and we're busier now than we've ever been.
Yeah. And you came from New York.
Came from New York. Yeah, I was there for 15 years.
Yeah, and you had worked you'd worked with Floyd Cardoz and
Lon Ducasse, Greg Coons.
Yeah. So, by the way, did you work with Carrie Schleifer? When you were,
No, she was after me.
okay, Chris Leahy,
After me.
Ross Mendoza.
I know Ross, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, me and Ross go back.
I'm trying to get Ross to come out, so shout out Ross Mendoza. He's a
Yeah,
listener.
he's out in Chicago still, right?
California.
California now.
Yeah.
He's always moving around.
Yeah, we need to get him in North Carolina. But
Absolutely.
so yeah, you had an illustrious career. What brought you to North Carolina?
My wife went to high school here, and so we had our two boys in New York. They were 1 and 3 at the time, and it was just difficult. I was working 80 hours a week plus commuting. So I was out the door 100 hours a week. It was just extremely difficult. So we kind of made a decision to get out and started looking around the country, and we kind of just kept. North Carolina just had that like. The 4 seasons a year. I'm a big sports fan, so we have the sports, we have the colleges. Christy called Igor, the general manager at Parizade, and said, "Hey, we want to come down." Igor got me in contact with Giorgio, came down, met him, and he pretty much hired me on the spot. Didn't know what restaurant, didn't know what job.
Were you living here? Or
No, I was in New York.
Okay.
He said get down here as soon as you can.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what kind of pay I was going to make. I just said, okay, I got a job. went back to New York, put my notice in. 3 months later, we were packing up, moving down to New York. We're moving down from North Carolina.
yeah. So Matt and I both have this perspective. Mine not from New York, but from a big city of LA. The enticement of coming to North Carolina from living like in a major city at the time, was really, really sexy. I felt.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just on a very basic level, what we were paying for our apartment, which was a decent apartment, and we actually
nice
had this
place.
had this like garden patio that was relatively big and unique for New York. But what we were paying that was the same amount as what we pay for mortgage on our house, what we were paying in rent that for like a sizable house. So just put that in perspective.
I was $1,000 cheaper. Like
Your house was $1,000 cheaper.
My
than
mortgage today is $1,000 less than what my
Rent
really
was.
shitty 2-bedroom apartment from built in 1968, in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
That, like it just had this like funk. It always stunk, It was always like,
Oh, I thought that was you.
no. Well, I brought it with me. No, I won't go there so darkly, but 3 girls in a sorority used to live there in our house, and we were always like,
Oh God.
I just smell something. I don't know what it is. It was gross. But anyhow, that idea of just getting out of the big city and, going like, wow, I'm not going to be around 7 million people any longer. I'm going to be able to like stretch out a little bit and all. I mean, was that this is my perspective. What was yours at that point?
It didn't really hit me until I went to the first grocery store. I went to Harris Teeter.
Yeah.
And I was walking with the cart, and I could walk down an aisle
Oh my God.
with the cart, and someone could walk by me with the cart, and it was like, wait a minute. I'm not used to this, Like I had a cart because it was in New York. You go with kids, grocery shopping every single day on the way home from work. Diapers, milk, food. It was like, 'cause you could only carry so much food.
Yeah.
You're walking 5, 6
I was
blocks.
wondering what you're saying. 'Cause
Yeah.
that still gets that gets lost to me as a Los Angelean because we always have a car.
Yeah, no cars. So it was like
So-
literally like how many fingers in your bags,
Can you comfortably get on and still get your Metro card out of the subway?
So
That makes sense,
so yeah, being able to shop with the shopping cart and being like, I can get this and that and bring it home in a car. It hit me then, you know.
Just walking
Plus, you
on
could
the
also-
streets.
You could also
honestly.
park in the Harris Teeter parking lot. And then,
and not fight for a spot. Yeah.
yeah.
And driving was, that was wild too,
Yeah.
Because there's not, in New York, you don't drive.
No,
You
really
know?
don't.
I was there for 15 years. I didn't. It was my first. Me moving here was my first car since I was in high school.
And you came from Texas?
Texas originally. Yep. El Paso.
El Paso. Oh, right on.
Yeah,
Did
but I lived in Dallas. I lived in Austin for a couple of years.
okay. Did you work in the business there
Mm-hmm.
at all?
Yep. I worked for us. What's that? Steven Star. Star Canyon.
Okay.
Stephen Piles.
Okay. Do you go back to Austin at all these days?
I haven't been since I've moved, and it's changed so much.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was there, I moved to New York to go where food was.
Yeah.
It was steak and potatoes. I worked at some really nice restaurants and really high end places, but it was still, when it came down to it, it was steak and potatoes.
Yeah.
So I was hungry. I needed more, and I had a buddy of mine who wanted to move to New York, and we jumped in a bus or a train, and took us 3 days to get to New York. We had nowhere to live. We knew nobody. We ended up staying at the YMCA for 3 months in a hostel.
3 months.
3 months.
Wow.
We put our
Which one?
Up on Lexington.
Yeah. Yeah. In the Upper East Side.
So we put our we had a couple of boxes we were able to bring on the train. We put those in storage, and we literally had a backpack that we had to take to work every single day back and forth.
because that was all your shit that you had.
That was
on you.
the hand, and it was like $12 a night to stay in a hostel for 3 months until we could save up enough money to get an apartment in New York City.
That's the cheapest bed you could find in New York, I would imagine.
Yeah, and safe.
Oh, it was
relatively safe.
It was interesting. I'll tell you that. a lot of Europeans.
Where were you working? Where
I was
did
at
you get-
Tabla.
Oh, you were at Tabla then?
Yeah, I was at Tabla then.
Oh, and that's a big commute too, because you're going to Madison Square.
Yeah, I mean,
from-
it's
from
all a
Upper East
commute.
Side.
Yeah, it's
Not
all a
bad.
commute in New York.
Once you're on a subway, you're just kind of like,
Yeah, but then when you have to transfer subways and stuff like that. But anyway,
Yeah.
I digress.
well, let's get into Tabla a little bit because obviously, R.I.P. Floyd Cardoz.
Yeah, the man.
We've interviewed him. We were invited into his home, which was so amazing. I don't know if you're familiar with Chef Bobby McFarland. Who's
I know
out
Bobby.
here?
Yep.
You know
Yeah,
Bobby?
Yeah, Bobby's rocking it down here. He's doing great for
He's
himself.
killing it, man.
Yeah, love Bobby. Good friend. We actually all worked together in the same restaurant at White Street. Me, Bobby, and Floyd did.
You did?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Okay.
Full circle.
Let's,
circle.
let's talk shit about Bobby McFarland.
Oh, please. I would love to.
I just saw him last week. He was back in the kitchen doing some stuff over at Y Hill.
He does stuff?
He does stuff.
Like,
yeah,
he
he's
doesn't
actually
just
like
tell people
was
what to do?
in the kitchen.
That's
He had
the-
chef coat on and everything, or like an apron on and everything.
I call bullshit. But by the way, are you a Morton's or a Diamond Crystal?
Oh,
salt
good
guy?
Lord. At these days, whatever salt I can get.
Oh, really?
Oh, it's been rough. The salt industry has been rough.
Like Morton's and Diamond Crystal
Yeah,
can't even
you'd be
get
surprised.
regularly?
Oh, we get shorted all the time.
Do you want me to talk to your Cisco rep and make sure that
That'd be great.
We'll
Make
talk
it
to
work for me. But
him.
yeah, there's been a salt shortage.
Yeah, well, no, well, actually, Matt,
You know what?
that's a really good point.
Because while we pause now for a quick word from our proud title sponsor, Cisco, I'm going to get him on the phone.
Yeah, let's go get that salt because as the industry leader in food service, Cisco's reputation is on the line with every product, be it salt, pepper, garlic, that they deliver. Or, other things. They do other things. That's why they ensure that Cisco brand products offer the best in quality and freshness every time.
First quality. Cisco products are monitored by dedicated inspectors using industry-leading standards to make sure customers receive the top ingredients available. That means you can count on consistency and, above all, food safety in every product.
And as for freshness, Cisco serves up natural, hand-selected produce that's beautiful on the plate and delicious on the palate. Because your menu can only be as good as its ingredients, and you deserve to shop with confidence. When you shop Cisco, you shop the best.
Visit Sysco.com, that's SYSCO.com, to discover the value of fresh, quality products from Cisco Shop.
Cisco, at the heart of food and service. So
We'll get you that salt.
Beautiful.
yeah, and well, hey Matt, let's take a quick break to speak to our friend Lane. Lane, last time we saw you, we were in person, but we got you back on the digital interwebs, and looks like you are right where we were recently. So welcome back to the show. How you doing?
I'm doing really well. It was really good to see you last week over here. And hi, Jason. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
So Lane, obviously coming to us from Carrboro Coffee Roasters out there in Carrboro, and you're at the roastery right now. So what kind of coffee do you have in store for us today?
Yeah. So, coffee is such the final culinary impression that a chef like Jason would leave with a customer. And so we really believe that the coffee should be as spectacular as the meal. So after a Parizade meal, we'd really recommend a coffee that melds well with kind of Mediterranean flavors like olives and tomatoes and parsley and feta and lemon and basil and all those fantastic flavors that Jason creates. So what we're having now is a honey catuai from our farmer partner, Edith Meza of Finca Testa in Satipa, Peru. So Satipa is a part of the world where it's really steeped in humidity. It's in the Amazon rainforest. It doesn't get a lot of sunlight. So it's very unusual to find producers who will produce coffee in ways that are typical of drier and sunnier climates. So Edith said, heck, I'm going to try to do a honey and a natural process coffee in the rainforest, which is quite an endeavor. And she did, and she did an amazing job. So we're drinking her honey process catuai. What I noticed right away is distinct honey sweetness and honey crisp apple acidity. The flavor notes are very much plum and apricot. The body is full and round, and what lingers in the mouth, really lovely candied lemon honey flavor that just leaves a really beautiful last impression to a meal.
It is fantastic.
This is, I mean, you always do something great, but I think this is my favorite of all time, or favorite yet, because there's just such like a richness in the mouthfeel, and the finish is lasting, but not like there's no bitterness of this at all. It's really creamy and beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I love it. It's like sucking on a honey stick a little bit at the very end. So it's going to be really great after any kind of meal, especially Mediterranean meal.
Awesome.
Thank you so much. So for those that want to get the coffee, how would we go about getting some Carrboro Coffee Roasters?
Sure. So you can drop by our website, carborocoffee.com. We also have 3 cafes. Perennial in Chapel Hill, Cafe Parizade in Chapel Hill, and Open Eye in Carrboro. So you can get bags anywhere there, especially, and also Weaver Street Market has our coffee now. So that's cool.
Oh, yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Lane. We'll talk to you soon.
Take care.
Bye,
Bye-bye.
Lane.
Take care. I just rewatched the 100-foot journey, which is a little
Keep
cheesy.
talking about this. I mean, I really got to watch this.
You haven't seen it yet?
No.
Oh, it's fantastic.
No, I know. Max talks about it all the time. And
You tell me about it then, Jason. Tell us what the 100-foot journey is all about.
The whole time I watched it, I was just thinking about Floyd. You know, it was just like, oh, this is Floyd, because it was a big, I was with him at that point when he was doing that. And I just, just how you can come out from nothing all the way. And it was almost like his story to, because he came from like,
was, yeah.
So it's just like, it was just thinking about him the whole time, and yeah, great movie with the how to make the omelet correctly.
Oh
and,
man!
you
By the
know,
way, I know you're a chef and you have a lot of skill. You can't make a better omelet than me.
I am not allowed to make eggs in the house.
See, I already won.
My wife is the egg cook, and no matter how much cheese or butter I put in those eggs, my kids won't eat them.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah, so that's the one thing I don't cook in the house.
Yeah. Charlotte did just say the other day when we were going to Super Rica, I was like, Charlotte, just get like some, like chicken quesadilla. She's like, the only chicken I like is the one that Mom makes. And I go, yeah, I'm pretty sure Ford Fry knows how to make chicken.
No, doesn't matter.
She's like, no. I'm like, it's going to be delicious, Charlotte. She's like, Mom makes it. I go, everyone knows how to make good chicken. She's like, no, only Mom.
Let her have it.
Fine. Yeah. Well, it's a little obnoxious though when Mom's not there and I need her to eat. So I'm like, you need to eat some food, darling.
You can just say Mom shipped it in through Goldbelly.
Oh yeah, there we go. Yeah, so you sent it to this restaurant. Goldbelly, not a sponsor yet.
Yeah,
but
soon, maybe one day.
Maybe one day.
But so for those that haven't watched the movie, watch it. It's a fun little food movie. It's a little cheesy and hokey, but that's fine. It's
Disney. It was Disney, wasn't it?
I don't even know if it was, but Helen Mirren's one of the leads, and it's roughly just a story of a immigrant Indian family that has they lost their mother. They're on the road. They're traveling. They've gone to this city, to that city. They finally find themselves at home in a small Europe or French city, and they buy a dilapidated restaurant. They build it up and they cook their food, Indian cuisine. And the eldest son is the chef, and the dad knows how to cook, but really the son is the talent. And across the street, exactly 100 feet, is a Michelin-starred restaurant. And so Helen Mirren is the restaurateur. She hates that they're making all this spicy food and all this non-French food. Meanwhile, the chef has this adoration for just learning, and he wants to become a better chef. And I mention all this because in reality, when they were doing the production of the movie, Floyd Cardoz was the food designer. He made all the food for the movie, and you were working with him at the time.
Yep.
So, did you ever go on set? Did you ever have any connection to that?
No, he was just gone for weeks at a time.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
he'd come back and talk about it. And I think we did the premiere at White Street or some kind of a premiere for it at White Street.
Oh, cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, it's a thoughtful movie, and then kind of takes you into the kitchen, talks about some of the traditional things like the 5 mother sauces and all those little things, and just if you're
Scoffier.
Yeah, if you're just starting to get into food, I think that's a fun entry level. It's no sideways to wine, but it's a good one.
It's a reference point.
Yeah. All right, so you worked with Floyd, and at Tabla you were doing Indian cuisine. Mm-hmm. This was at the time was a Danny Meyer restaurant, right?
Yeah, it was 2000.
Yeah. So
I've told this story before on the podcast. You do know that. I think you know this. Maybe you don't remember it. Tabla, just to get sideways for a second, was the first time that Sarah, my wife, who wasn't my wife at the time, met my parents. We had dinner there.
Upstairs or downstairs?
Upstairs.
Upstairs.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
Yeah, my dad ate all the things in the plate. Wasn't very good at sharing, and but she still married me. So hey.
Yeah. So I don't know. When you cook Indian food, and I paid attention to some of our previous guests, like Preeti Waz. I was living with her. She was letting us stay in her guest house for a while, and she was showing me some technique
For $12 a night.
It was actually less than that. It was better than the YMCA. This is the PWCA.
Yeah.
Preeti Waz.
Only you knew Preeti at the time.
Yeah. But learning techniques that aren't traditional, like throwing in dry ingredients into a pan and kind of toasting your spices. That's not a traditional French technique. That's not really a technique that anyone else shares except for that part of the world. Mm-hmm. So even just that probably changed the way you looked at food and made food. But tell us, how did that evolve your cooking style?
Well, from growing up in El Paso, Texas, I grew up on Mexican food.
Yeah.
Tacos, and tacos are a staple in my life. And so, and then going to Tabla after that, it was the same ingredients, cilantro, coriander, cumin, chilies, and so all these flavors, I knew them. I knew all these flavors, but how you did them was so completely different. Like you said, toasting them in oil, grinding them, and then toasting them, leaving them whole, then toasting them, and then grinding them. Every single recipe would have the same kind of ingredients, but done completely different.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like I know all this food, but I'm learning like a whole different concept on how to do it.
How does it express itself differently? Like, what are the things that chefs are looking for when you process it differently, whether you toast it in oil or you're cooking it whole and stuff like that?
They just bringing out the flavors, which Floyd was worked with Gray Kuntz for years, and Gray was always I worked for Gray for years too, and it was pushing the flavors. How many textures, how many flavors, sweet, sour, spicy, how really get those flavors going in your mouth. And that's what it was with Tabla. It was like, okay, if you toast this way, if you it's like doing purees of like ginger and garlic with white wine, and then like burning that into a toasting hot pan, and like burning that in the pan, and then deglazing it with like a stock, and then cooking that down. So it was like all these flavors and everything. It was just really how can you make these flavors bigger and brighter, and then balance.
Yeah.
Balance was huge. Everything had salt, sugar, some kind of vinegar, heat. Heat was like one thing Floyd would always push into your head would be like, even if you don't taste the heat, if it's there, your body feels the heat. It's endorphins.
Yeah.
So like, so you'd be like, oh, there's no chili in there. Oh yeah, there's tons of chili in there. You just don't,
you don't like perceive it on the palate because there's so much else going on.
So it was always like, just layers and layers and layers of flavor.
Yeah.
And the freshness was always, finishing, garnishing with stuff.
Well, you're making things like in a way, it's like the tortilla, right? And like you're doing, but like technique is different and all, but I see what you're saying. There's a lot of like connectivity in like these, like instead of it being a curry, you've got like these slow roasted soups, like stews, like makes me think of like Lupita Fonda, like like those are like these slow braised dishes, but like they could be a curry, if you will, but like it's a Mexican version of it or so. So yeah, those tones are great, and then the flavors are intense. Yeah, there is a lot of kind of similarity, I would say, in technique.
And like balance was huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have to ask then, back to your coming to North Carolina. So you've got all that. You've worked for some of the best, most decorated chefs in the world. And then you're coming to Durham now. So that's around 2015. Durham was named one of the best food cities in America by, was it Food and Wine or Bon Appetit? I can never remember. In 2010.
Yeah, it was one of those.
It was at least one of those.
But I know coming from New York, there's still a stigma, a connotation, and especially at a place like Parizade, where you said before, like maybe they don't want steak and potatoes, but they want their steak fried or whatever, So how do you bring that into a place, and not only to Parizade, but to Durham, where people are used to like a staple?
Well, Parizade's its own little, it's like a country club, hotel, restaurant almost. It's we can push the envelope as much as a lot, but it still has to have those staples. It still has the chicken breast, the salmon.
I love how he said salmon.
The salmon. The amount of salmon.
The scowl.
The amount of salmon we go through on a busy weekend. But can we do fun specials? We're doing wine dinner. So we're doing a wine dinner with you this month, Matt.
Yeah. You're listening to this maybe the week before, depending on schedules, but August 24th, tickets are still available. Go to parizade.com or check out Giorgio's group and get yourself some tickets. We're going to do a hell of a South American
it's going to be
wine
great.
dinner. Yeah.
So I got those kinds of things I can push the envelope and kind of use my old techniques and bring out some things I've done in the past. But Parizade's are such a beast. It's when we do 300-400 covers on a Friday night, it's consistency for me in that place. Consistent. So it's base sauces, lots of grilled meats, quick pickups. If we try to do too much stuff, we get buried, and we can't feed that many people. So it's a balance of it. But again, I always try to use my old techniques is when I'm making a base sauce, does it have the vinegar? Does it have the sugar? Does it have the spice? French technique when I'm making it. Am I using a real stock? Are we taking the time to make a real veal jus, a real chicken stock, a real fish fumet? So we take the time and we make these beautiful base ingredients, and then we finish them quick.
Right. Yeah. Well, I want to ask that question because I don't know. Maybe sometimes I'm basic. I don't know, but I enjoy salmon.
Shit.
Yeah. I don't order it at a restaurant traditionally because I know the stigma. I know, like, oh, really? Weiss is here and he's ordering fucking salmon?
You won't order salmon at a restaurant because you think it's basic?
I mean, I know like the chef scowl, like the look on his face when he said, and the salmons, and I'm just like, oh, I can imagine them. I'm worried about what people think of me, And
I mean, chef, you gotta have like, I mean, that's pushing the envelope a little bit, like to be upset at, like to think that's bougie.
It's not that you're upset. It gets old.
Yeah.
Fire 2 salmon, fire 4 salmon, waiting on salmon. How long on? It's just like.
But that's the other thing. Like, why is it so popular? Just because it's a non-fishy fish that's meaty and like you can put a lot of flavors on it. I mean, like, what is the thing?
Omega-3s, my friend.
It's healthy. People enjoy it.
I mean, it was the same thing, stigma, back when, like, oh, you order chicken at a restaurant. But now, if you do a really cool roast chicken, whole roast chicken, it's super cool to order chicken at a restaurant. And everyone will tell you, I know it's chicken, but you should try this chicken.
We sell a ton of chicken.
Yeah. Is it a whole roast cool?
No, it's a chicken breast, and we stuff it with goat cheese and spinach.
Yeah.
And so it's like this, and it's the goat
Chicken
cheese
and
and the
cheese,
spinach,
baby.
and it just kind of, when you bake it, the moisture from the goat cheese and the spinach goes into the breast, and so it holds beautifully. It's nice and it's not dry.
So would you scoff at me if I ordered that?
No, I mean listen, if I could have a restaurant where I did 3 things: well done filet mignon, well done salmon, and chicken, and I was doing 500 covers a night, I would have the easiest job in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's there's nothing wrong doing them. It just kind of it gets a little mundane of doing the same thing all the time.
Yeah.
Well, but you brought up a good point, Matt, though. Like, chicken used to be boring until we as the food,
Chefed it up.
Yeah, it's like everyone's like, well, what if we just whole roasted or rotisseried or smoked it or just did other things to it so that it, like, the process of doing it was more enjoyable for the chef, and then thus, let's be honest, it'll be more enjoyable for the guest. I think about Brussels sprouts. That was the thing that we made fun of. It was kind of cliche on television. It's like, I don't want to eat my Brussels sprouts. It's like, eat your Brussels sprouts. They're good for you. And no one wanted to eat them. They kind of smelled weird and they tasted like nothing. It was just a bunch of texture until someone decided, oh, what if we put enough butter, salt, and maybe some like good Banyuls vinegar on there or so? Then now it's fucking delicious.
Put a little bacon on it.
So throw some bacon in there.
Well, bacon makes everything better.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do it a certain way, and then now it's like edgy, cool, hipster. Now it's passe to do, like now everyone's done Brussels sprouts so much. But for that reason, we figured it out. We cracked the code, and
it's the burnt Brussels sprouts.
Yeah.
The dark ones.
I don't know if I'm probably not telling you anything you don't know, but when I first saw it was David Boulay when I worked there, and he would toast them. So he wouldn't do it in a pan. He would just put them in a literal toaster.
Like
and
dry toast them.
Yeah, dry toast them, and then so they got that crispiness, the char, and the whole thing.
Yep.
You know what I want to see people do? Take to the next level. I'll challenge you, chef. Take calamari to the next level. What are you doing with calamari?
Like a fried calamari?
Whatever you want to
you wanna
do. But calamari is delicious. I am, my nickname growing up was Squid. So I did you not know?
I never knew this. I've known you for over 15 years. I never knew that your nickname was Squid.
Yeah, my brother called me Squid from like age 5 to 25. And then all of his friends would call me Squid. And then my friends in high school knew I was called that. So then they would call me that. Yeah.
Because you ate a lot of squid? Or
because I was just little. And like he was like, what's up, Squid? Get over here, Squid.
Yeah.
I even leaned into it. I DJ'd for a little while. And my DJ name was DJ Squid 5000.
Nice.
Oh, yeah. I may or may not. I was thinking about it, Matt. Should I get it? Should I get a tattoo?
Tat?
Like
DJ
a whole
Squid tat?
squid arm, on there. Anyways, but could you bring the Frito Misto to the forefront? Could you do something that pushes that Mediterranean? I mean, I feel like the chef at Parizade would be the one to ask, and if so, like, how could you bring it? How could you bring calamari to the modern era? Well,
when I first started, we had fried calamari at Parizade, and people still ask for it. I took it off because I figured everybody does fried calamari, you know? I think calamari is more of like a vessel for what you're serving it with a lot of times,
Sure. It's like that traditional, like, remoulade.
Remoulade, but, it takes on the flavors of whatever oil you're cooking it in. When I was at Floyd, and I've done that numerous times, we used to stuff them with, like, salt cod and potatoes.
Okay.
And then braise it in like a spicy tomato sauce.
See, that sounds delicious. Yeah.
And I've done that.
Bread them also?
No, they would be braised.
Okay.
So you'd stuff the calamari and then braise them in the tomato sauce. I've done that numerous times. And that's one of my favorite dishes because I think that's like, it really, the calamari flavor goes in the tomato sauce. You get the salt cod, the baklava flavor coming out. Things like that I love doing with calamari. I'm not your typical fried calamari guy. I'll skip on that.
What are you like? What's the thing that keeps you up at night and like that you're working on or that you want to do?
I guess it's always the new thing. Everybody says, "What's your favorite dish?" So I guess the newest dish on the menu. But I love eating with my hands. So any kind of Asian inspired food I can get my hands on. Any kind of tacos. I barbecue. I love eating with my hands.
Visceral, yeah.
We're doing some cool stuff for the South American dinner. I'm blanking on all of the stuff now, but like you're pushing the envelope.
Yeah, we're doing I think we're doing like a lamb empanada. I think we got some like beef cheeks on there.
Yeah.
We're doing like a hamachi dish. So like the wine dinners, we have fun with them. I don't necessarily we're doing South American, so I'm bringing some flavor from South America. But it's not like I'm not like diving all the way in and like every dish is a traditional South American dish.
Well, it's just inspired.
Yeah. If I do, so that's how like all the wine dinners we do, which makes it fun for me. It makes it fun for my cooks. Get to see something different.
I find that's like the height of irony, right? Like here you are, we're talking about like, oh, so much salmon, so much chicken, so much, steak. But then you do these wine dinners and they're wildly popular.
Yeah.
I joke, Max, I think you might have said it's like playing Parizade in the wine business is like playing Carnegie Hall. It's like, there's like a 90-person wine dinner, which is almost like never happens except at Parizade. And so the dichotomy of people not wanting or wanting the basic stuff, but then when you put a wine dinner menu out and they just clamor for it, which is all the pushing the envelope stuff.
We were doing wine dinners before COVID, 30, 40 people at a time, and they were fun. And then once COVID happened, we didn't do them for a year. And the first one we did 120.
Wow.
People couldn't wait to get out and come to a wine dinner.
Yeah.
And Parizade's so big and so grand that I think people felt safe to come in. They weren't going to be like at a four-top with two people they didn't know, like jammed in little seats. Everybody had like their space, and we did 120 that first wine dinner we did, and we around that 100 cover every single time now, and people just wait every single month to come to this. The day that we put it out on social media, we're 40-50 reservations overnight. People
That's
just
amazing.
So, okay, so that gives me hope for the future of restaurants and all. Like, it does feel good that I would love to just not talk about pandemic stuff ever again. And so I'm not specifically talking about it, but just in the wake of getting people to like relearn to go back to restaurants on a traditional pattern, like just casually go into a place. They just get a couple bites and a cocktail and whatever. You don't have to make like a full meal out of it. It doesn't have to be so big. But are you seeing more consistency? Like, is your clientele like very regular, like and recurring, like the same people, and they're coming back a lot? Or are you getting like a lot of just newbies? What does it look like?
I would say 60% regular at Parizade, and then there's the 40% rotate in.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
College, Duke's coming back to school. That's a big one for us.
Yeah.
And we're an expensive restaurant, but we also have things that you can go and have as a college student. You can get a $18 pasta. So they'll come in and we'll get a 20 top of 20-year-old kids.
Yeah.
They're going to like their formal, or they're going out. They're having a night.
Yeah. It's a lot of parents taking them out, though. I would assume, right?
A lot of those,
faculty, things like that. Yeah.
And our private rooms are always busy. Whether it's an anniversary dinner, a birthday dinner, business dinners. But then we do have our regulars that come. Every Friday, every Thursday, every Wednesday. And that's and they're our bread and butter.
Let's step away from Parizade for a second and talk about Krill.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the genesis of that, because this is one of the cool things I think that Giorgio does is he empowers a chef like you who's worked with him for a long time to say, hey, what do you want to do? We had Brian Genzer who did Ramblas.
Yep, I know Brian.
Yep.
Good friend.
And so how does that happen? How does Krill come about? And
so when I moved here, when I interviewed with Giorgio, we talked about Asian food like half the interview. I have a deep passion for Asian food, and we just kept talking about it. And I started cooking food for him. He'd come in, hey, Jason, I'm coming in with 3 top, cook us Asian food. And I would just, so over the years, I would just kept feeding him. We just always kind of talked about having an Asian spot. And then one day he called me. He sent me a text message, an address. He said, meet me there at 11 o'clock. I was like, oh, okay, what's Giorgio going to show me now, And I walk in, and it's this little tiny restaurant. It was an old like private club. So it had like a little bar, and it had like a little tiny kitchen in the corner. And I walk in, I look at him. I'm like, "Is this it?" He goes, "What do you think?" I go, "I like it." And he goes, "Want to do it?" I said, "Let's open our Asian restaurant." And then a year later, we did it.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quick.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but
And what, like, do you go home and write a menu? Like, how does that, what's the next steps you take after that?
The first opening it up was, I was very, very involved. I have a great chef named Carl and Paula, the sous chef over there. They're fantastic. At this point, they're really running day-to-day operations. I support them. I'm usually there every day for a little bit, about an hour or so, talk about food, staffing, what needs to be done. We're starting to do wine dinners over there now. So we're kind of like pushing the envelope on that. So again, I'm really support. It's a small little kitchen. If I am there, I end up usually just like washing dishes. I'm in the way.
Yeah.
So they kick me out. They're like, "Hey chef, why don't you go,
But you did write the menu.
the opening menu. Opening menu. It's evolved. There's definitely some, I hate calling them signature dishes because you never want to have a signature. They're there for a reason, but some things haven't changed. Staples, let's call them staples of the menu.
Salmon, calamari, and chicken.
Krill, we could push the envelope a little bit more.
Yeah. It's all seafood, right? Or is there
No,
some?
we have meat. Focuses on, I don't want to say focus on seafood. A lot of vegetables, a lot of seafood, but we do have our meats.
And when you say Asian cooking, it's pulling from all
over. The focus was on the Southeast Asian ingredients,
Okay.
freshness, citrus, acid,
fish sauce.
tons of fish sauce. So that was the focus of it. It's kind of evolved, and we call it Far East Funk. Far East Funk, Krill Far East Funk.
Nice.
There's no limitations, and it's like, and if we do a drunken noodle, how can we make it Krill drunken noodle? If we do a ramen, how can we make it Krill ramen? So we're always trying to push the envelope and give people those flavors they want, but how can we do them different? Like we're doing we put a crab cow soy on the menu a couple months ago, and it's one of my favorite dishes we put on the menu, and it's just
It's
a crab cow soy.
cow soy.
Cow soy is like a curry dish, like a curry noodle dish.
Okay.
It's usually made with like chicken,
Okay.
but we're doing it with crab meat, and it's phenomenal. It's spicy. It has like the wonton noodles in it. So we always try to how can we make it Krill? How can we make it our own?
Yeah.
But still have like the friendly Asian ingredients. And it's all we really embrace that tapas style there. You come in, food comes out quick. So we always say order 2 things, order 2 more things, order 2 more things, and just keep that table.
I love eating that way.
The food just keeps on, and then when you're done, you stop. And there's very little butter, no cream. So everything is just like, you leave, you feel full, but you feel excited because you have like really fresh ingredients, a really healthy meal. You don't feel like bogged down like you just had like a huge steak dinner,
Yeah.
You would have hated me like in the day when you guys were tossing around names for the restaurant, and someone said, "Hey, how about Krill?" I'd say, "So are you saying that our guests are a bunch of whales? Like, is that what we're eating? Like, are we making food for whales? Is that what we're doing here?"
So we are a small animal that feeds a large environment.
Okay, that's where it comes from.
So we nourish a large environment.
So Durham is the whale.
Durham's the whale, and we are a little tiny shrimp.
Yeah. Without everyone, the whales would go away.
Sure, that makes sense. Yeah, I love it.
That's the idea with Krill.
Oh, that's cool.
So
But it's fun. We have a good time.
I have to imagine that being at Parizade at that point for 5.5 years or 6 years, like that really helped scratch that creative itch. That
It was fun. I was dying to do it. I was trying to get back into Asian food again. I just love those flavors.
Yeah.
Just the freshness. It just excites me getting those flavors. But yeah, it's been great. It's been fun.
That's crazy.
Well, before we get out of here, talk about your wine dinner. I didn't know you guys are doing a wine dinner. What's it all about?
Yeah. So South America, we're doing a wine dinner featuring wines from the Catena winery, which is, for those of you that if you don't know Catena, they are to Mendoza in Argentina what Robert Mondavi or the Mondavi family is to California. They really put them on the map, and they're a great family. And then we're going to cross over the Andes and do some Chilean wines as well from Casa L'Apostol, which one of the flagship from there, and this beautiful Valley de Rappel that is heaven on earth for wine grapes. And then
Lapa stole like the number 1 or maybe number 2 wine in the world like a few years back. Or
so they have Clo Apalta, which was the first 100-point wine from South America.
That's right.
Yeah, and it's a windy vineyard on a mountain that the vines literally circle the mountain. Pretty awesome, and the grapes for that come from the very top of the vineyard, and it's
it the highest
a big
elevation?
red blend. I don't know. I'm sure somebody says that. But then and so those are cool because I love that that we get to sit down and taste the wine, and then that kind of inspires your menu, and you build it around the wine.
We really do. We focus on, we taste the wines. I take my notes. I don't write it right away. I think about it. I do a little bit of research on where the grapes came from, some traditional dishes, and then about a week later, my mind just keeps going, and then I write it out. And it's the food does match the wine. It's not just, we're not doing charcuterie and mixed green salads.
Yeah,
you know.
And I love that because there's often, and not that there's anything wrong with that, but there's also often on a pairing menu or a wine dinner where it's the food first, and then you find the wine to pair it with. But you're doing it the reverse way,
We are.
which I think is super cool.
And we have fun with it. I think people really appreciate it. And people come up all the time during wine dinners and stop me what I'm doing and just want to say thank you. And I'm like, well, I'm a little busy, but they, people just, I think they really appreciate it. And that's how we get them coming back every single time.
Yeah. Well,
How many courses is it?
We always do 6.
6 courses.
Yeah, we did 5. We moved it to 6 about a year ago. Kind of made the portions a little bit smaller. Added another course on of wine. But yeah, we're doing 6 now.
I'm curious, and both of you weigh in. Before we get out of here, because I do these wine dinners quite frequently, and I find myself pretty entertaining, pretty good at them. I think I don't find myself. I've been told, but thank you. I feel like there needs to be some balance between the let's get up and interrupt everybody between every course, right? Versus maybe talking about it at a couple of different points. I don't know. And then it's hard. Or do you just float and try to touch every table and talk to them, but then you end up repeating yourself like 80 times? I don't know. Where do you fall on that? Because you guys do it traditionally.
We do, and we kind of let the person who's doing it kind of, we suggest kind of talk heavy at the beginning.
Yeah.
And if you want to say a little couple things between, but the wine, the person doing the wine, we want them to touch the tables. We want them walking around, talking to the tables and selling the wine. And as far as I'm always too busy to go out there and say anything. I'll go touch the tables at the end, things like that. But each one's different.
Yeah.
And so we have some hosts that come in and they just talk the whole time, and some just kind of talk a little bit and really just touch the tables.
I think it's important to, if you are the person, if you're the host, if you're if you're the Matt Weiss in this scenario, to tell people, please eat while I'm doing this. And then don't let the food hold up the conversation, because people are there it is a wine dinner. So it's not like you should be interrupting their experience. That's part of the experience,
Yeah.
Like you're here because you want to learn about wine. That's the goal. But also don't hold back. Like if you see Matt going on and on about how this is the highest elevated vineyard in all of Chile or Argentina, just send the food out and then get it out there, because that's the worst, is when the food's being held hostage because the person's talking. So that's it. But at some point also
I think it's more like, because I feel I'm passionate. I have a lot to say about these wines. I feel like people when they can hear me, they're generally interested. It's more the interrupting the each time, and especially by the 5th glass of wine, they had enough about
nobody cares anymore.
Yield.
I think if you have a succinct thing to say, it's just one bullet point. As the things are coming in, you're like,
this is what you remember.
This guy he suffered a horrible car accident while they were picking the grapes.
He fell down the mountain.
Enjoy your calamari. Yeah.
Probably a little bit of his blood in the soil.
Yeah, but keep it sweet, keep it short and sweet. Yeah, but I don't know, but it is engaging. You just,
no, it is. It's,
well, for us, we're doing almost 100 covers every wine dinner now, so it takes us a while to put that food out. So it kind of helps
the filibustering
a couple minutes between to kind of get that dead silence of So it's we encourage a little bit of talking.
And also we mentioned him at the top, and we'll get out on this, but we talked about Igor, who this guy needs his own podcast or his own episode, like you said before. That guy could run for mayor of Durham and win in a landslide.
He would.
He's also there touching tables
Oh, yeah.
and making sure people feel comfortable and are entertained.
I
So,
mean, everybody knows Igor.
yeah, you can't miss the guy. He's a marcher in the Turkish army that used to perform like the marches and the swiveling of the guns, and always would be front of center for all of the heads of state or diplomats that would come to Turkey. And when you see this guy, you're like, oh, obviously, yeah, like he's a striking presence, and the posture is awesome. So
That's
yeah.
cool. Well,
But
thank you for coming in today, coming down out to downtown Raleigh to chat with us about your restaurant, your experiences, and all. This was fun. It was nice to just
Thanks, guys.
wax a little intellectual about food and a little connection to.
Talk about Floyd and Gray. I miss those guys.
yeah, and I also want to say thank you for that shirt. That's like the best chef shirt ever. It's,
I had to wear it. I was going to put a polo on, and I was like, you know what? I got to wear the chef shirt.
No, that's awesome. Chef, appreciate you. Looking forward to the wine dinner. And for those of you out there, if I would recommend highly check out Cafe Parizade, check out Krill in Durham. You will eat and drink extremely barely.
Thanks for listening to the NC F&B podcast. And if you've stuck with us this long, review us on iTunes, and remember, 5 stars are encouraged.